guys, what's going on? It's Matt10. So here analyzing the PES 2019 demo. The embargo of course lifted recently, and so got some footage that came out. I'm just grabbing the one from the official PES channel. Overall, I mean, you see right away it's kind of end-to-end action again. I titled this video Remnants of PES 2018. And there's probably should be like a sub dialogue there of 16 and 17 combined, but this reminds me a lot of PES 18, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately because, as we know, PES 2018 was really a tough title really to enjoy. This is back to the chaos again, the chaos of the defensive positioning, the chaos of the perfect back heels, the chaos of the players going on those wind sprints from side to side defensively and not really knowing what to do or what angle to take to defend. I mean, it's just kind of seems back and forth. You've got, if we look at the radar as enter attack here, you'll see nobody else goes up. You've got your midfielder that goes up. You've got two forwards in the center. You've got a defensive midfielder literally right by the forwards. They're not in a more advanced position to protect or cut off angles. They're literally holding hands with the forward instead. And you've got your center backs who don't get wide. They stay very, very narrow to each other, which is really unheard of in this modern day age and not really what we saw at all in E3. It's really just kind of chaotic, like I've said. You basically have your top four players, up there that are forwards, just up there in the box, and they're the ones laying siege upon the goal, while your other six players are just on the other side of the half. Maybe your defensive midfielder is barely across, but it's kind of just back to that disconnect. There's 20 to 30 yards of penetration that can be caused now. It's not compressed like it was in E3 videos. It's really ping-ponging passing, like pass and move, pass and move, pass and move. See, look at it. It's just pass and move. And there's players, when they get the ball or when they start to turn on direction, they're stopped. Like you can see in multiple replays, players don't just, they don't gradually have momentum as they're sprinting one way. They don't have the momentum showing that they can stop, gradually. Instead, they're stopped on the dime and they're turning back another way. So that's why I call it like wind sprints. Essentially, you're just going back and forth as hard as possible in two different directions. And it's just kind of frustrating. You guys might hear me sound a little frustrated. And, I'm talking to B-Man, of course, and some of the other guys, and we kind of share that same frustration. It seems like, if it's feedback, that's one thing, or if it's something that simply was already part of the master plan, that something had to change for the sake of, just because it wasn't done yet or something to that effect. That maybe something, the game we get on E3, that what's shown on stream, isn't a finished, obviously it's not a finished product, but maybe it's just a product that uses the bare minimum resources possible and thus doesn't cloud anything else, anything that's attached, from player ratings to different environments, different scenarios that it's trying to script into. But taking a positive turn onto what I do see, I mean, the ball physics still seem somewhat on point. The different animations, the players' kind of attention to the ball is good, kind of knowledgeable of where their feet are, or where the ball is relative to their feet. You can see some really subtle animations there, which are really good, like some of the reaching out to deflect the ball or something like that, or just make contact on it outside of the foot touches. You see, of course, the real eyesore though is those back heels. They're perfectly timed. I mean, it's somebody on EvaWeb said this perfectly. It's not really realistic, or it's not really like believable. It's like a toy essentially, and we're seeing these perfect back heels to create, to basically make a shortcut, because the animation can't take enough time to build momentum to gather the ball and find a pass, or to have the player orientate their body to make a pass, and that's the part that's frustrating, because there's so many good animations that come in, just like PES 2018, that why does it have to use these shortcuts of of making back heel passes? Why does it have to do this to make it happen as quickly as possible? We're seeing again these 20 to 30 yard passes with no resistance whatsoever. Now again, this is player 1 versus player 2, so against CPU it could be different. It just depends how it's set up. And before anybody says, and I 100% will always understand this argument, it depends on somebody's tactics. It depends on on somebody's players that they're using, skills, roles. I mean, the whole thing. You guys have if you haven't seen it, my PESUniverse community article, and I'll put here in the description, talks about all the different priorities of PES going forward, and of course those elements are part of that. Tactics, attack defense levels, rating, stats, player roles, player stat, player cards, etc. The works, skill traits. I can't keep up with all the different definitions and acronyms that are available, but what I do see here, guys, is really a wide open sense of game, and I hope this is just something from the online side of things, which would make me feel a lot better, because we know this is the way it works. Esports, the whole thing. I've talked about this to death, about how it's just going to be more wide open, so the ball can always keep moving. No start and stop. Nobody wants to have start and stop to watch that on a stream. They want to see things keep running, I completely understand that. They don't want to make it like fouls like in PES 5, how everything is recognized by the referee and everything is, kind of respected in that sense. And also the understanding of how to let the ball move naturally, etc. But there should be some form of recognition. There has to be more of what we saw in E3. My hope is that because this is such breakneck speed, that there's no chance that we've seen that even allows enough time for it to look, similar to E3, because there's no real build-up. This is probably your best build-up. You have like 5 or 6 guys near or at the top of the box or something like that, but that's a gradual build-up. If you look on the average how long it takes to get from point A, and let's say point A is the defensive third all the way to the other defensive third, it takes probably less than 15 seconds. And that's really just how you can easily determine how quickly PES is going and how quickly the movement is and the direction it seems to be going, unfortunately. But at this point, we're all going to be having the game, the demo in our hands in a couple of days. So, I guess the real, that's why this isn't a very long video, but the real judgment's going to come from that as it's in our hands. And obviously I'm going to try to see what else I can do. If it's 5-second fix that you guys have seen on this channel, where I modify the out of possession to become in possession, or in possession become out of possession, and fluid formations and everything like that. We'll see if that does anything. I hope it does, because something that B and I have been talking about a lot is just compression and decompression. FIFA does this really well with the sliders in mind, right? Again, PES doesn't have sliders. Let's start that petition at some point. But because of that, there is this sense sometimes of just not having enough compression and decompression. Even at the radars, you can see there's, it takes forever for the positioning to get there. It's like it's on a bit of a delay for some reason, and I don't know what exactly is the trigger for that, or if it's, like I said, it's a team tactic or something that the player 1 or player 2 has chosen. But it's really made the game not look the same and not the way I had expected it to be out of E3. E3 was so promising. I'm not going to be as bold to say that the code has changed. You know, I don't want to put any disrespect for those that played E3 and those, of course, that you know, are taking the helm on this whole escapade that is PES 19. But at the same time, you know, the proof is in the pudding in some elements here, and this definitely looks to be that case, that we're looking at a different code, and we're looking at something that feels a little misleading, but hopefully some things can get cleared up as the demo gets, you know, released to more people, and more things can be tested and tried. There's so many different things that are out of context here that, you know, we just don't know on certain levels on what's chosen. Is this PA1? Is this PA3? You know, PES assistance, if you're asking about that. But on top of that, you know, how deep is this defensive line? For me, it looks pretty deep. They keep following the attackers into the box. Not as bad as it's been in previous years, but it does look a little chaotic defensively. You see that side-to-side wind sprinting motion again. So it reminds me of PES 2016. So, you know, there's just some things that I'm honestly just a little disappointed with what I'm seeing here in PES 19, that I really thought they had turned a corner and really wanted to focus on something, you know, based on what they have shown in E3 and kind of stick to with you guys here. And that's kind of the purpose. All I'm doing here is just looking at the video along with you guys and seeing, you know, if there's anything else that, you know, that could make up this decision, something that would validate why they would, you know, veer away from such a successful and well-received, you know, E3 video and streaming of so much content, and now they pull this out. Are you excited still for the demo? Are you excited for PES 2019? Let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, of course. As always, make sure to like the video. Like I said, comment already. And as always, take care and stay tuned.